Hello there and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter, and amongst other things I'm kind of an artist. But we all are. We're all creative. To be human is to be creative. The trick is finding out where your creativity lies. And I love to draw with pen. I often love doing just plain black and white drawings or black line on coloured backgrounds. And I do add colour and shadow and highlight from time to time. And I'm getting into that a bit more. But at the same time, colour vexes me still. But let's see where we go today. And what I've got in front of me is a piece of Distress Ink coloured paper. I made 4 yesterday that was sort of, today's the 1st of November. So yesterday, Halloween, so Halloweeny colours, but they're nice colours anyway, so I want to make use of them. And the other thing I've got here is, this is my current sketchbook or a page in it, and I've been drawing flowers. So I want to share some of these, or how I vary these, how I work on variations of a theme. And I'm going to choose something that's fairly simple to work with. But before I can work with, well, I say work with these, I want something that they can grow out of. So the only thing I've done here is I've put a pencil border in, using pencil lines here. So I've got a distinct area to work within, and the pencil will just disappear, or I can erase it if I wish. But I want to put something at the bottom that suggests we've got some leaves or something growing here. And I think what I'm going to do though, before I do any leaves, is I'm going to draw in some some shapes that look a bit like they could be rocks or pebbles. And because this is stylized, we don't have to have that idea that they're real in any way. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing the rocks in 3 kinds of sections. So they look a bit like flat croissants, don't they? So I'll have one there, and then perhaps that one comes around, and then instead of having these lines straight, I'm just going to give them a bit of a curve as well for a bit of a difference. So, like so, and then I'm just going to pop one in there. And like so, and then that'll do me fine. So I've got a pile of rocks along the bottom just to grow things from. And I think the things I'm going to grow from here, I think I'm going to use Tangle Pattern Tag, TAGH. But I'm going to use like little leaf shapes in it, and then I'm going to put some nicely plump shapes around them. So to suggest there's some leaves here. These little spaces, I will fill them in with black. I don't want to have too much of this in any one place or too high, because I want somewhere that these plants can grow out of. My flowers are going to grow out of, so I just want a layer here really. So that's quite nice. Got a gap there, so I'm going to fill that gap in. Perhaps have a couple here, like so. Fill that little gap in. And let's have a look here. And I'm just going to carry on. I will do a sketchbook flip through. I did one today before this, but I wasn't really very happy with it, and I don't know why. I think it's part of me thinks, well, although you've said you'd like to see it, people don't often like to see it, and I've got nothing more to say and add. And You know, I'm suddenly getting all worried about it. But I also just need to do a little bit of drawing this morning. I'm not very with it today. I don't know what's happened. Oh, I do know what's happened. I had to attend a meeting on Saturday and it was in person and there were a number of people there. And Sunday night, I had to go out with... Well, I didn't have to go out. It wasn't out as in out celebrating, but I had to go again to another kind of meeting in the evening. And there were a fair number of people there. And everything's quite peoply. And when it's all peoply, it drains me. You know, I come across as very sociable and very bubbly and bright. But there's always a cost when I'm with people because I put this... It's not to appear somebody I'm not, but it's kind of a coping strategy, especially when I'm around people I don't know or it's somewhere new, and when I'm there actually physically in person. I become very anxious, on edge. I can become very shy in my own way, but I put this bravado on. As a survival mechanism it was when I was, you know, a child. And it still is in place today. I've ended up with a hedge of this stuff, so we'll go with the hedge. Okay, right, so this is what we're going to do. Somebody left me a comment. They're not very good at doing flowery things. Sorry, I forgot to note down your name, but you'll know who you are. And for these, I'm going to use a kind of fan shape for these flowers because this is one of my favourite shapes. So I'm just going to draw that fan shape in with my pencil. You may not be able to see it because I'm drawing it in very light, but I'll go back and I'll go over it. I'm trying to make the sides about the same, but it's not that important. And I am then just going to draw an arch over the top, and that is the basis for my flower. But it's what I do with my flower that matters. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to draw these outside edges in first. Now, of course, you could draw this in straight in pen, and I've managed to completely miss some of this pencil line, so I'm just going with what I've drawn in pen. The pencil line is just there as a guide for me, it just helps me. And then I'm going to draw two borders, narrow ribbons across there, and I'm curving them upwards because that helps to give that feeling of dimension to this shape. I also need a stem here, and we could just simply put a simple stem on this one, so that's where I'm going to start. Just a very simple stem, and I could just put a simple line across here and that'll work, except I think I'm going to divide this into thirds. They don't have to be exact, but into thirds like this, and then I'm going to join these up with lines that slightly curve up and back down, just slightly, so we've got that feeling almost of a scallop shell on the edge. Okay, and then I do want something that goes in these to suggest we have a flower. So I'm going to put circles, well mine are flattened circles, more like ovals here. And they're not perfect circles because they don't have to be. And that then will do for me as a flower. Just to finish it off though, what I'm going to do here is I am going to put a spiral here, and then I'm going to carry it on, and I'm actually going to draw it down the side of the stem. And I'm going to do the same here. So it thickens the stem, and it looks like we've got something here that is almost hugging this flower in shape. And I could And I am going to just put a little teardrop shape in there. And perhaps another one there, and another one there. Just to complete around that edge. So on its own, it looked okay. It looked fine, don't get me wrong. But it just looks so much better, I think, when I just add these little embellishments just to do that. So we've got that as a nice flower. It's fine as it is, but do you think I can leave well enough alone? The answer to that is no. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this as the centre. I'm going to draw a triangle underneath it. I'm going to do another one that side and another one that side. And I'm trying to get the points of the triangles pointing towards the base of these stamen. And I am going to start to add some weight to the end of my lines, because that is characteristic of my style of drawing. Everything ends up looking a bit like wrought iron or stained glass for me. But that's what I like. You don't have to do it. And at the bottom here, I also want to do that with these lines there. Just finishing that up. And also here, where they go behind these tag. Do I need to add line weight to this to increase the volume? I could do, but I don't think I'm going to. So that's how I started, from something very basic. So I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to draw my wide V with a curved bottom. I'm going to pop this in, because this is one of the things I like to do. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to colour this bottom centre in black. It just gives that, I don't know, a certain feeling. So I'm going to double this up and curve the end over. I'm going to do the same on this side. And then I'm going to do this in thirds. That was a bit wobbly and wonky, but I'm fine with wobbly and wonky. The tops may not be the same length, but that's fine. And then what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to give them a top as if I'm drawing the top of a heart or a very short, wide, rounded M. So just by changing a couple of things here, it's the same, but it's different. I'm also going to change how I connect this to the stem, and I'm going to add another little V here, and I am going to add another one of those so it looks like we've got some layers going on. And then I'm going to add these. I'm taking care not to have these lines join here, so I've added them just a little bit above the top of this bottom one here. And I'm going to bring them round until I've got a gap where I can put my stem in. And then I'm going to give the top of the stem a little curve, so this looks like it's going into this, and this could be a bead that joins them. Let me get my finer pen, wrong pen. Keep putting everything off to my left, and I should really put it off to my right. Will I ever learn and remember this? If I was you, I wouldn't hold my breath on that. So I'm just going to go and add some ink between these just to create a nice rounded kind of shape there. I'm going to do the same here and in between the middle and either edge, just to put a little bit of solder there as if I was creating a piece of stained glass. Okay. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put hearts underneath these shapes and have those as my stamen. I've got a heart kind of shape there, so it seems the perfect thing to do is just to pop little hearts in here. Again, I'm just adding that little bit of ink at the base of them, like so. I will come back and add some leaves to these, but what I want to do to this one is kind of the same thing I've done here, but I'm going to start the spiral right at the top, and then I'm going to extend it down to the middle of this curve. So again, and then down to the middle of that curve, so it looks like that curve supporting these as well. Just add that little bit of line weight as well. And there we've got another kind of flower going on. Okay, so let's do another one of these. And here I've made a very sharp bottom point there, and there's a reason for this. And I am going to go with a straight line across the top. And then I'm going to draw another one in, and I'm giving it a curve out around the edge as if it's almost like there's a rim at the top, like a rim round a cup where it curls out that little bit. I am going to pop this in and also this one, and I am again going to fill that bottom area in with black just to be consistent across them. Okay, now for the base of this, I'm going to kind of extend, or use the same curve here as I have here. And yes, I did do two. I'm going to extend one there, and then this one is going to go around to the bottom like that. And then I'm going to have this kind of beaded idea. It's a bit more awkward to do it when you've just got the black, but I can put those little, it's like a letter C around, so it looks like these are threaded through. It's like there's a bead here and this continues onwards through here, which is fun. Didn't quite manage that here. If I hadn't put the black in the bottom, it would have worked. Now this isn't the only thing I want to do to this. This is fine as it is. I could leave it exactly like that, but what I am going to do is I'm going to put some curves in here. I wouldn't have been able to fit two on, so I finagled that one a bit. Then I'm going to draw from in between them lines that go down to this lower line here. And that gives us a completely different look. And I am just going to use my finer pen to put some little shapes in there. You could do them all black, but I'm going to put black at the top and black to the right as well. So that'll make it look like there's an opening in there. And again, I'm just going to add some ink at the top of this, there and there, and again at the bottom, just to add those kinds of shapes going on. Here in this section, I didn't do anything with that one, I'll go back to that, but here I think I'll just do some lines that are broken to suggest texture, like so. That works quite nicely. And with this one, just going to pop in some circles that are tucked behind each other like that. This looks a bit odd here, so I think I'm just going to perhaps add a couple of fan shapes, or lines that suggest a fan shape there. And colour will help to bring that out, I'm absolutely sure. Okay, what about other versions of this? This has been started with quite a simple pattern, so how about if we started at the base with something that's a little bit different? So I'm going to start here and I'm going to draw a little leaf shape in like this, and then I'm going to draw a leaf shape on either side like this. And then that I can use to give me my side shapes. And because I'm going to be drawing something a bit different here, I'm going to draw my arc in from side to side, like so. I am going to pop this in here because I've got this. And here I'm just going to give these little leaf shapes almost like little points on them, so that they stand out as being leaf-like. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up. Now I'm doing it as I go, but you can split the section up like this, and then where you've got the gaps between, you can round the corner, draw it down and go back and round it over. And then that looks like we've got some petals here. And I am going to give these petals a bit of a curl over, that kind of furled look as if they're bent over this way, like so. I'm also going to put a straight line in between them, not right at the top, but a little bit further down. And that suggests there's something behind here. What that is entirely up to you. I'm also going to carry on with my stem here. I'm going to put a couple of beads at the bottom, and then I'm just going to draw this straight down, and it's actually going to hide behind there, which is perfect. And I think one more, because we'll have a nice odd number then. So where would it be nice to have one? I could pop one in here, small one. I could put one, I think I'll put one up here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by drawing a small version of the shape that we started off drawing here almost. And I'm going to come back but leave a gap, over leaving a gap, and then I'm going to put a leaf in the middle. And then I'm going to draw a smallish shape like this. And I am going to draw my arc in pencil. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to split this up into some sections. So I split it up into 4 with my pencil. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 down. 1, 2, 3 down and up. 1, 2, 3 down and up. And then 3 over there. I'm going to draw in that's kind of circular shape again at the base. And what I could do if I wanted to, and I think I might, is I'm just going to draw these down, but I'm going to carry on the sides and get them to meet at a point, touching that circle I've just drawn. So depending on what I draw, I can change things or adapt things as I go along. So here I've just filled in between these with a little line, again not right at the top but a bit further in, and then we're going to want a stem. For this one I curved out in and down where I wanted the stem, and here the same, curved out in where I wanted the stem. So I need to go and just add some line weighting in places here between these. I'm not worried about the ones behind because they will be fine. Okay, let me have a look at this one. Do I need to do any here? Yes, here and there. Perhaps a little bit at the bottom of these just to help to bring that out. These here. So those will be fine. For this, I'm just going to put a couple of these arcs in there, but I'm also going to add the veins in those leaves. So that is the flowers, as much as I want to do them. Next job is to draw some leaves on these. So I'm going to try to add some different kinds of leaves on each one. So for this one, I'm just very simply going to draw some long, thin teardrop shapes. The next one I'm going to start on this side, kind of in between the other two. So I don't really want to go behind these too much if I can help it. So that'll be quite nice. I tell you what I do want to do here. And I'm going to add another line there. Breaks where there's a gap. So that'll be quite nice. And I think I may just add a couple of lines in each of these, 2 or 3 depending on the space I've got. It's not critical or crucial, it's just a pattern that's there. And then in these ones, the leaves, I'm going back to the leaves, I'm going to put a rounded V shape at the tip, like so, and I'm just going to join a line up to it, which just gives some kind of structure and interest there. Colour will do that, but you know. This one, I'm going to add some leaves that bend, so I'm putting a curve in that goes along the side of the stem up, and then I'm going to come down. Then I'm going to go back this way, but I'm going to change. I don't want it to go back up to the beginning, I want it to join that line I drew here, the first line of this leaf, a bit further down. Then I'm going to draw like that. And I've got a leaf that's folded over. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to follow this up, bend it down, back over, and then draw the other side of the leaf in. I'm not going to do anything else to these. I'm just going to use colour to add shapes to these. Simple kind of leaf is one where you start with quite a short kind of V shape, and then you add a longer one to the other side. Like so. Didn't do a good job of that one. I confused myself there, which happens. And here I'm just going to hide that one behind there. And again with this one, I'm going to draw the veins in like so. In fact, I'm going to draw veins in here. This is interesting how you do this. I'm going to start at the point and I'm going to go to the middle of this upper shape. Same here, join the point to the middle of this upper section. And then in the lower one, you draw the line down the middle. And it helps to give that illusion of something being folded over. This one here, I've got these spirals here, so I'm going to use the same kind of idea here, but I'm going to have them not attached, but that little bit, so they're going to go out to create that spiral and then back in. So I've got, it's that feeling that these are beginning to uncurl more than anything else. So that's, I quite like that one. It's very architectural, very column-like. And then there's this one here. Again, I want to keep things fairly simple. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw my stem in. So I'm doing it like a long, thin V shape, and I'm going to do the same this side. Then I'm going to draw this in like it's a very plump heart shape. So if I have to extend the bit at the top, I can. If it goes behind the stem, that's fine. Like this. So we've got these lovely kinds of leaves there, and I think with these I will pop in a couple of veins. So the first one I'm taking from where the bottom of the leaf joins that little stem in the middle on both sides, and then just like that, and that works quite nicely. This one here, it looks a bit plain in the middle, so I think what I'm going to do, middle of the flower, I'm going to add short, wide kind of teardrop shapes, just to put them in there. This also looks a bit bare, but I'm going to leave as it is. Here, it's really interesting, we've got this bare top here. Part of me so wants to put something there, but it's hiding behind something, so I'm not going to. And the other thing I want to do is I'm going to bring my ruler in. No, I'm not, because if I draw something behind this, a border behind this, this is going to look odd sticking outside it. So I'm just going to pop this border in here. And because I'm drawing it freehand, I'm allowing my hand to wobble in places so it looks like it's deliberate, these little bits. And that just fills that in. Excuse me, that just fills that in quite nicely. I could get away with a kind of frame, if you like, but I think I'm going to leave it exactly as it is and see what I could put a frame around the whole of it. I'll see about that. I haven't used any line weight for left and right, or left and bottom, which is what I would normally do. I'm using quite a thick pen here. Okay, so let me just move some bits out the way. Ooh. As I do, put them behind me, get my pens out the way. Always a good thing. Righty-ho. Out come the Inktense, because the Inktense is most probably the best for me to use with this. Okay, I have got a red violet here. So I'm going to use the red violet on these petals. So I'm going to choose colours that go with whatever the Distress Ink colour is underneath. So hopefully this is damp but not soaking, which is a good thing. Well, I don't know, there's a fair amount of liquid coming through, but I want my colour mostly at the bottom of the petal. So I'm wetting the whole area of the petal and then just allowing the colour to spread as it will. As I moisten and dampen this and bring it to how it needs to be. Like so. And I think I'll pop some of that, the same colour in underneath here. I'll use a different colour for the bottom bits here. I'm not going to do all of these, but I'll do some. Okay, over here I've got this lovely, lovely golden colour, and I am looking for my favourite orangey yellow colour, which is the sienna gold, because I know this will absolutely look fabulous against this. So I've got this colour here, and I do turn things upside down when I need to, so I can get a better angle of using my brush and blending this in. And this colour will blend really nicely with the pinky orange underneath. I wouldn't put it up with the purple because we'd end up with a brownie hint or a mucky hint to this. And I want to keep the yellowish colour, but I don't want, you know, I don't mind tones from the background in it because it will help. What am I trying to say here? It helps this to tone in with the background colours as well. So I'm not trying to obliterate the background colours, I'm trying to work with them and create harmonious colours. And I am going to add this gold in here. So we've got this lovely rich colour. And I'm also going to add it to this section above. So I really want that to stand out, to be part of this. The other place I'm going to put some of this is here. And I think round this part here. And just have a look at those, because I'm thinking, I want that little golden bead there, or the beads on the stem to be gold, but we'll see. This is how, what you're seeing here is, none of these are on my sketchbook page that I showed you. I just used that as the start with the shape of the flower and how I wanted to go. The rest of it is just working with those shapes and going, I wonder what will happen if. I may not say this out clearly, but a lot of this is, oh, I wonder what will happen if I do this, or I wonder what will happen if I do that in my head. But it's not in words, it's kind of, try this, as an idea pops in, or, you know. And it is working with that same shape. So here, they all start from the same basic shape, that wide, short V, where not having straight ends, but they curve out, that kind of shape. And it's just then adding these little variations. Do I do one curve? Do I split the curve up? What do I do with the pieces that I've split up? Do I keep them a curved edge, a straight edge? Do I add wavy edges? Do I make them a little bit heart-shaped? Or do I just make it, you know, what am I going to do here? And it's working on these variations and seeing what you come up with and what you like. And it is what you like. It's not what I like when it comes to all of this. When you're doing your own work, it's discovering what you like to put together. And I'm pretty eclectic, you know. It'll change from day to day, mood to mood. You know, I'm procrastinating here, really. I'm not feeling 100%. You know, I'm physically okay. I'm just so tired, I think, from being peopled out. And that I need some quiet time here today. I think I'll get away with this golden colour over here and here because there's not too much of the the purple in here. There's more pinks and reds, so, and Inktense colours are very strong, so you can carry them like that. That's quite nice. Okay, let me have a look where else. I can't do those in yellow because they're the same colour. I'm going to try here and see what happens in these little sections because, well, pollen is golden in colour as far as I'm concerned. I should be all right because it's a small area and there's not a lot of the distress ink. There's a lot more of the Inktense. That actually worked. Woohoo! So, all right, I need a purple colour, a purplish colour. I've got violet here because this one is all quite violet up here. But I'm going to do these petals the other way down where I'm starting with the darkest colour underneath. Well, this is bending over. Now then, this is where I'm going to use colour to suggest something in a moment. And you'll see what I mean when I get there. So for these, I am just going to do the same kind of thing where I'm just picking up a small amount of colour from the edge of this, dragging it down so it goes paler the further away, coming back and just moistening all of the Inktense, and just letting it blend as it will, just to add a distinctly purple tone to this. It will play well with the pinky purple that's there, so. And that's always what I try to do. Is I just have a love of complementary colours, and it doesn't always work out well. So let me just get some of this colour down there. I want to work fairly quick so that where these bits join, that they join when they're still damp, so we get an evenness there. We don't get a distinct line in colour. I think that'll be okay. This too will be. So I'm fussing around a little bit here, but not too much. I'm not trying to get anything perfect. It is what it is when it's finished. And it is just about bringing these up. Now I do need to leave that to dry. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am looking for, I've got scarlet pink here. I'm looking for a different colour to go in here. And I think this will pick up some of those orangey tones quite nicely here. So it's a kind of red, but it's also a pinky, an orangey red. It says scarlet pink. I never believe anything. So I'm going to put this colour here and there. I also am thinking, because I want to keep the number of colours I'm using fairly limited, so if I can make use of this on some of the others, it won't stand out like a sore thumb. I think here could be quite nice. So I'm going to put some the top and bottom of this band and just let them do what they'll do. Could do with a bit darker colour along the edges, which I can do just by pulling some of that colour down, but leave the middle bit as it is. And to be honest with you, I think that these will be fine if I use this as well. There's no way I'm putting this colour up there. Just wouldn't go. Not in my opinion. Of course, if this is what colours you like, you think would go together, you carry on. Your artwork, I'm just sharing with you how I work, how I think, how I do things. I'm no expert on colour, by the way. Okay, so we've got that. Now, down here, I was going to put purple, I'll come back to that, but up here is where I want to go next. I've got fuchsia, which will be great. So for these bits that curl over, I'm going to put a lot of colour in the tip of these. But I'm also going to put some of this fuchsia in between these here. And I am hoping that this will suggest that what we're seeing through these gaps are the backs of the petals that we can't see behind this side of the flower, and that the front and back are different colours. That's my hope, or that's what my thinking is. Whether it works, whether people pick up that subtle suggestion, I don't know, but it makes sense to me to try. So that adds a different kind of feeling to that, and it really does look like that. It's curled over, we've got shadow underneath, a lighter colour below and a different colour behind it, which will work. And I am going to pop this pinky colour at the base here, because I think that will look quite good there. And I can see that in the space above this, it's mostly a pinkish colour, so I am going to put in some of my sienna gold. Like so. So that's that flower almost finished. We haven't done one here. So what I'm going to do here, we've used this scarlet pink for bits and pieces in these others. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the scarlet pink here for each of these petals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some at the top and some at the bottom. So I get a darker area at the top as if it's bending away into shadow, and at the bottom as if, well, the colour's concentrated, I suppose. Let's see how it works. So that's my first one. It's a bit of a help there just to blend that out. There's this one here. Then these ones. And then keeping it fairly plain, fairly light in between the two, so we get a natural highlight there, so that works. And that means I'm going to pop some of this colour in here, again top and bottom to the sides, just to give that same colour here, and with that little bit of a highlight hopefully in the middle, which I can get by using a clean brush just to pick some of that water up, and that works quite nicely. That works for me. Okay, this section I am going to use some of the gold here to suggest that we've got that connection with these petals, or that these are some of the parts of the petals coming down. Just like that. But I also think I'm just going to stick with the scarlet pink here and keep this fairly simple, like so. That'll be all right. On this one I am going to use, again I'm keeping it simple, so I'm going to use the sienna gold on this band as well, like so. So that will work. This background here, in here I am going to use this scarlet pink as well, just to fill this region in. Hindsight, as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, Angela, you could have done that in green, but I didn't. Right, these bits in between the petals, I'm going to use the sienna gold, and again I'm going to do tops and bottoms, just like so, and we'll have that highlight somewhere in the middle, hopefully, so it ties in with where the one for the red one is, the scarlet pink regions for the main petals. Again, I could have chosen to do this in green, but I've decided that I'd prefer this, because green would suggest we've got tiny little leaves in between them. Here I am going to pop some of that sienna gold in these sections, just to give that pop of golden colour there. And even though there's some purple there, it hasn't really picked that up. And at the bottom here, I use the red violet. And I think I might just go with that here, but perhaps a fair amount of it at the bottom, and let's see if we can just get it faded. It's not going to happen. I'm working in too small a space with too wet a brush. But it'll be fine, I'm sure. I can always, once it's dry, I can always go back and add more colour. Okay, all my flowers are done. So I know that's red violet, so if I want to add any more colour there, I can. Now then, I'm looking for a green colour. I've got leaf green here. I'm not sure what colour leaf green is, so I'm just going to turn this over on the back and see what colour it becomes when... Actually, that will work nicely. I do want to sharpen this, so I'm just going to get a sharpener. There we go, so I've got a sharper point. For my stems, I'm going to have the darkest colour at the bottom. I'm also going to put some at the top, but mainly the darkest area at the bottom where it'll go into the ground, lightest at the top, but a bit of shadow there. So I'm going to do that for all my stems. And yet I'm going to use the same colour for them all. I could swap and change, mix and match, but I'm not going to. But I think this colour will work nicely here. Just activating that colour and moving it. Trying to keep the dark at the base, but I need enough on my brush to move it up to the top to get a gradient going. Got some colour there, and I can just drop that one down like so. All right, so here I've got leaves here. Now this one is upside down because I'm going to find it easier to add my colours this way and then move my water. So I'm putting some green there, some green on the ends. With these, I want the darkest at the base here. And I'll come and work out what I'm going to do with those leaves in a moment. Let's just get these done and activated. I actually think I've chosen a nice enough green here. This leaf green is more on the olivey side, but it's got that yellow tone that I like. But it's not in your face yellow, so it's not acid green or anything. There we go, so that's quite nice. Okay, so with my leaves here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put shadow, or that darkest colour, underneath the vein towards the, the bit that's closest to the bottom of the page. And then with the top one, I'm going to put the colour around the edge, so we get a highlight close to the vein. You'll see what I mean, hopefully. So I'm just picking up enough colour here just to move this and fill that in. So we've got darker colour hopefully along the edge. May have to go back and add some in. And here we're going to have the darkest colour along the vein, and then I can just slowly blend this out so we've got a nice gradient there, so we get the shadow underneath that vein, as if the vein is sticking up. If you wanted the vein to appear as if it's a dip in the middle, then what you do is you swap over where you have the light and the dark points. I'm going to just pick a little bit of this colour up, just to put along the edge here. I didn't put enough colour down, so that's a bit better. Okie dokes. For these, I'm going to put, these little ones, I'm going to put the green there. I'm also going to put green at the bottom of the spirals and in the centre. We're going to have plenty at the bottom because we'll want that to be the darkest. And I think we'll put a little bit round that line, not the very top, but the one that goes in. And let's see how this works. Inktense pencils are very intense in colour. A little goes a long way. So they're brilliant for all kinds of addition of colour. You just have to be mindful of how much you do add and where you put it. You said that if you've got paper that will stay wet for a while, doesn't grab onto the colour, it's very easy to blend them out and to work with them. This all media paper works quite nicely, surprisingly. It's because it's been sized, which means they've used gum arabic, I believe is what's used for sizing, in the paper as they make it, and that actually makes the paper stronger and it allows a slower drying time for water-based media. I've got some here I haven't managed to activate. I can see because it's a bit grainy and so on, so I'll just do that. I'm going to do these in the same kind of way. So plenty there, a bit over the top there. And let's see how this works. There we go. Just concentrating there. Here again, it's going to be at the bottom. Oh, I've missed that little bit out there and the gold beads. I'll come back to those in a moment. That'll do fine. The darker colour at the bottom. And here I'm going to do the same as I did with these when putting the darker colour underneath the line, and I'm just going to put a little bit in the little mountain peak at the top and use that just to fill in the whole of this space, going over this one. And then down. Hopefully there'll be enough of a difference for you to notice, because I am rushing, because you know. There we go. A little bit there that needs a bit. Okay, 2 left to do. So here, underneath here is where I want this to be the darkest, there. And I'm going to add some to the ends here, where it curls over, and perhaps to the tip, just to get that difference in tone. Really do want it to be quite dark underneath, because that is where the shadows would be. And there I don't mind having a distinct line to suggest, whoop, that leaf's casting a shadow. That's okay, so I'll move that way and that this way, and that gives that there. Okay, this one I'm going to have lots of the green at the base of these, and I'm also going to put green in the base of this little section at the end. So I want these dark at the bottom, and I want a little bit of darkness in that little section at the top, at the bottom of it. And then I've got these leaves to do here, and I'm going to do this really simply by putting colour right at the base of them, like so. Put a little bit in there. And there was just a couple of things I wanted to come back to, which were, it's golding yet up, there we go. This one here is this kind of bead here and that little bit there. So we've got that going on. And then all of these things at the bottom, what on earth am I going to do with them? I've got this colour called oak here. I don't know what colour oak is. It's a very strange colour. You'd think oak would be, it is a brown colour, but it looks greenish, so I don't want that. Okay, for my other leaves, I have got I've got light olive. I did have a leaf green. Where did I put that? I don't know. Just popped it back in there. I think it's that one. That's felt green. Sheesh. Payne's grey. Never to be found again. So all I'm going to... Oh, there's the leaf green. So let me have a look at this. This is a different green. This is felt green. You can see it's more of a green green. Again, I like that. So I'm not going to colour all of these in, but I'm just going to do a small number of them. Let's see if I can get that into... No, it's not going to go in there. No, it's not going to go in there. It has to go in the jumbo hole. This irritates me a bit, but, you know. So what I'm going to do with all of these is I'm going to put the green right at the base of the biggest area, biggest section, like so. And I think it'll be fine with the oranges and pinky colours and so on, which is why I'm putting it over here. I think it'll be fine. We'll just check by testing these ones out. But again, if the colour's a bit ugh, you can always intensify it, but I think it'll be fine. So they will mix with the background colour and they will tone in with the background in a nice way. And there are things you can do with distress ink to fix it so it doesn't react with water. But you do that, you can't, you might be able to draw over it, but it's difficult then to add colour to it. I've got an awful couple of pieces of Inktense, of the Inktense pencil that has just broken off. So that's going to be quite dark there. Of course, with the yellow, it would be perfectly fine. We'll just have a more yellowy coloured green. But even with the orange and the pinks, it's actually working quite nicely, this one is. So I'm happy with that. So that's just adding some of the greens here. I've got a more purpley colour over here, so let's do a couple of them over here. Just to see what it's like. Actually, I may as well just do the whole lot like this. Because by the time I've finished doing these, it's not going to take me much longer, is it, just to spread the colour out for you. What's a few minutes? A couple of minutes here and there. So although I should be settling to work today, I'm really not with it. I'm absolutely exhausted. But I'll see what it's like once I've had some more tea. And lunchtime will be here soon, so... Funny days. It's something that I'd noticed before COVID and everything about how tired I can be when I'm around people. Very drained. But having so long extended periods of time without seeing anybody, the only time talking to people might be on the phone occasionally or Zoom meetings. Spent a lot of that time out, not having that anxiety and draining that I get. So when I do go back into the world where I am around people, I notice the difference so much. And of course it has a knock-on effect on my ability to do much in a day. But you know, 'tis what it is. So I'm getting there with this. Last one on the way. And with Inktense, because the paper I'm using, it does move well with water, I don't have to be very neat about adding it. So we just close that a bit so we don't get, streaks of bright light. So that's looking quite nice now, let's be honest. It's just the rocks. So the rocks, I have got Payne's Grey here, and I do enjoy Payne's Grey. It's a blue grey, but I think it'll work well here because that blue colour will work well with all of these colours, even the orange, I think, and create some interesting colours. So here I've just put colour at the base of my stones, and so I'm going to activate that colour and just pull it up for each of those sections. Ah, you're thinking, what am I going to do with the centre of the tags? It's a good question. I know what I want to do, I think. I'm so tempted to put sort of glitter and stuff there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go and dig in my pencil case a moment. But let's just finish these, and then I can finish my tag, my hedge of tag. So it is like a hedge, isn't it? It actually worked nicely. Not the best colouring in the world today, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, let me just go furtling through a pencil case a moment. Hopefully I'll find them in here. Otherwise it'll be in the other pencil case. Or, oh no, I've got it right on the top of my pencil case. These Quinky Dinks today. Everything is just there when I think about it, which is great. What I've got here is a black glaze pen, and I'm going to use this on some of the others, maybe. But black glaze, the ink in a black glaze pen, dries shiny and raised. Not so much on paper, because on paper it will kind of just sink in a little bit, but you still get the shininess if you don't get the raisedness. And I just think this intense black in the middle will really, really help these to pop. I wish they made glaze pens in metallics, but I guess that's not possible with the formulation of the ink. So let's have a look. Getting there. Doesn't take so long. Any spillover of colour here with this glaze in those little sections, it'll just eradicate them. Glaze comes in a range of colours. I have clear ones which are brilliant for going over things that you want to be shiny or to have some dimension to them. And I have white ones as well, which are brilliant because they're so opaque when they dry. So let me see if I can find a clear one. Yep, I think that's a clear glaze. It is. I hope. I think it is. The lid is see-through, whereas with white it's not. So again, I'm just going to, up on my top on this background paper, I'm just going to scribble off where you can't see just to get this going. And where I want to add this, I'm going to turn this upside down so I don't accidentally put my hand in those, is I'm going to add some, one of the problems is it does dry on the ball. So you do have to clean this off before you use it. There we are, I've got rid of that. And a very light touch brings out a lot of the ink. But this will seal the colour in. So I've added some there. It's not so much coming out of my pen. Why isn't there so much coming out? That's okay. Like so. And I'm looking where else I could add some. I think I might add some here because it would make these then look like little rounded balls rather than little hollows, which would be fun. Shiny bits. No, I'm not going to do the shiny bits at the bottom. Definitely want to do these though. These, once they dry, if you try to go back over them, you will muck them up. They seem to reactivate with themselves. But once dry, they are waterproof. And that means you can put washes over them and distress inks and they won't show up. But I don't know if you can see the sparkle that it gets. There you are, you can see the shine in different places where I've added this. And part of me feels that I need to do that on some of them like this and perhaps like this. And I think on this top beam here. And of course, to see where you've been and where you're going, you need to tilt your head so you can catch the light on them. That'll do fine. Perhaps on this as well. The bands seem to work quite nicely with them on. You know, you could colour, in practice, you could colour the whole flower in if you wanted to. But I'm not going to, but I am going to just add some of the glaze to these bands just to help to pick those out in all, like so. I'm just looking then to see is there anywhere else I want to pop any of this. This one, I think. It's subtle, but it's there. And when you make something shiny, it reflects more light. If it's see-through, it reflects more light from underneath as well, so it makes the colours much, much brighter. So that'll work quite nicely. And the last thing I want to do, and this is going to involve metallics because, well, I've got to have some sparkles somewhere. Next, first find, there it is. I can't find my not my Unipin, my Sakura Gold pens, but I've got my Unipin Gold, so I'm going to just get this going on the paper I'm using as my background here. And I'm just going to use the gold pen to put some dots in. I'm putting them in groups of 3 because I find that's pleasing. I'm not going to put them everywhere, but I'm just going to put them in places that I think, as I stick my finger in some glaze somewhere, would need them. Particularly where there's flowers, I think, because this could be like pollen scattering off. Perhaps falling down a bit. And then that will just give that little bit of a sparkle and shine there, something added to the background without adding a lot of stuff to the background. Perhaps just above here, because we've got that breaking out, so this is almost breaking out, so I'm going to add some over this side. And perhaps here and there I could put some on these, just a few dots. Not on everyone, but perhaps on just some of them, just to add something a little bit more interesting. Problem is, I'll end up with it on all of them. So there we go. 5 different flowers, all starting from the same basic shape. Simple variations, simple embellishments, simple colouring, and some unusual materials you might not have seen before. But this is what we have. And if I tilt this, you can see the gold just catching the light along with the others. So we've got that sparkle that ties things in together so they don't look all that different. The one last thing I need to do is I am going to put my initials here. Like so. Around there. And today's date is the 1st of the 11th, 22. And that I'm going to call it Dunded. Don't know what you think. Hopefully you will like it and enjoy this. Hopefully you'll give this a go and draw along with me. And hopefully I've given you some thoughts, things, ideas of how I change things subtly. A little one each time. Right, I've got the shape, now what can I do? And often I'm thinking about it as I'm drawing the previous one. I started here and I thought, okay, next one, I'm going to split this up, but I'm going to use different ways of splitting it up. Instead of one line, I'm going to use 2. I'm going to, instead of a round top, I'm going to change the shape of the top of the petals. And the way I support the petals is going to change, and so on. And as I'm going along, what can I do here? This needs something. What can I do to make it? And it goes from something that is really simple to something that looks very complicated, but it is just by stopping and going, do I like how this is, or do I want to add something to it? Up here I could have done with perhaps adding some leaves underneath these, but I didn't. I've just left it as it is. And I quite like the simplicity of that one, but I like the ornateness of this one, the fact it looks like this column is growing out the top of a column. Not quite Egyptian, but also, you know, this is perhaps a bit more Egyptian-y, but it's got that kind of feeling to it. So I'm going to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking with me. Oh, for goodness sakes, an hour and 18 minutes. And if you have, please consider subscribing if you haven't done so. It costs you nothing. And it just says that you enjoy what I'm doing. Thumbs up if you really enjoy the video, or if you found it useful, or whichever. And comments are always welcome. So please look after yourselves, take care, and above all else, find time to be creative. Till I see you again, take care. Bye-bye. Ta-ra.